Okay, so we're going to do Jacob's journey continues, or his journey's on the way here. Genesis 35. I'm just going to limit it to that. Last week in 34 was Genesis 34 was one of the most sordid chapters in all of the Bible. It's a terrible chapter, and God is not mentioned one time. So when you kind of lose track of talking about God, things can kind of go south in a hurry. In case you haven't noticed, Genesis 35 is going to mention God more than 10 times, and plus 11 more times in names such as Bethel and Israel. So we're going to talk about that. That's going to be fun. Okay? So we're going to just kind of jump right into it. Steve, are you all queued up? You are. Okay, let's start. Genesis 35 and verses 1 through 15.
Then God said to Jacob, "Arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make an altar there to God, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau your brother." And Jacob said to his household and all who were with him, "Put away the foreign gods that are among you. Purify yourselves and change your garments. Then let us arise and go up to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me in the way which I have gone." So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods which were in their hands, and the earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the terebinth tree which was by Shechem. And they journeyed, and the terror of God was upon the cities that were all around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, that is, Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all the people who were with him. And he built an altar there and called the place El Bethel, because there God appeared to him when he fled from the face of his brother. Now Deborah, Rebekah's nurse, died, and she was buried below Bethel under the terebinth tree. So the name of it was called Elon Bakuth. Then God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Padan Aram and blessed him. And God said to him, "Your name is Jacob. Your name shall not be called Jacob anymore, but Israel shall be your name." So he called his name Israel. Also God said to him, "I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall proceed from you, and kings shall come from your body. The land which I gave Abraham and Isaac, I give to you, and to your descendants after you I give this land." Then God went up from him in the place where he talked with him. So Jacob set up a pillar in the place where he talked with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured a drink offering on it, and he poured oil on it. And Jacob called the name of the place where God spoke with him, Bethel.
Seems pretty simple, straightforward. We're going to see a lot of things in these 15 verses here. So the first thing I see is God to Jacob. God speaks to Jacob and he says three things to him. He says, go. Go where? Go to Bethel. Settle there. And build. Build an altar to God there. Okay? Here's the word dwell. It's the word yeshav. It literally means to dwell, to remain, to sit, to abide, sit down, to be set, to remain, stay, to dwell, have one's abode there. And it's in the imperative form, so it's a command form. He told him to go there and to dwell there and to build an altar there. We're going to kind of follow. We have three places that Jacob winds up going this week. So here he is up here in Shechem, and he's coming right here. This is what they say is Bethel on your maps. I asked Myra yesterday if she'd ever been to Bethel. And she said, yeah, she was at Bethel. Can you give us a little bit of a description what Bethel, the north of Jerusalem, is like?
Well, it's not developed at all. It's not a national park. And we got out of the bus and we walked down along kind of a rocky little dirt path and ended up kind of on a flat top hillside. And you can see the whole valley from up there. You know, you could look up to Shiloh and down to Jerusalem. And there's a remain of a pile of rocks. Our guide said that's the remain of an altar that they had at one time, but there's no emphasis from the Archaeological Society or anything on that place.
It's just a place on a map that's sitting there with an old altar. And I'll remind you that when Jeroboam, after the nation split after King Solomon, and the nation split into two kingdoms, and Jeroboam was the king of the northern 10 tribes, he built an altar. Where'd Bethel? Here, he built an altar at Bethel. Can you see how it's on the border of Benjamin? Here's Benjamin. It's right kind of on the border. Jeroboam wanted to make sure that his people did not go down to Jerusalem. My goodness, if they go down to Jerusalem, I might lose them. Okay? So he said, I've got a great idea. Let's build a golden calf here at this place called Bethel. And he built one also. He built a second one up at the northern boundaries at Dan. So Dan and Bethel, there was two golden calves, and you can go and make your sacrifices there and there, but don't go to Jerusalem. Because I want to make sure I don't lose you. So don't go to Jerusalem. I wonder if that's the Bethel they're talking about. Could very well be. So we're going to talk just right here. Serving God is not that. A lot of people think it's impossible to serve God. If we were just to get our eraser out and erase those, serving God is possible. It's not a mission impossible to serve Him.
When you think about it, this isn't just to bring something up about that when you say, it's really hard to serve God. It's really hard to serve the world, too.
It's hard not to serve Him, I think.
Yeah. Jesus said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. We go through life, we go through all kinds of ups and downs, troubles, we see all this stuff going on around us. They can get us worried and upset and all that kind of thing, and that's natural as human beings. But the thing is, we have that, we always got to keep our eyes upon the hope, because this is not our home.
No.
And then that makes that possible, and then makes it look like, hey, it's not so bad. I'm not staying here.
This world is not my home.
We're done, we're out of here.
Right, okay. And from last week, even with these two glaring black marks on two sons of Jacob, God renews the covenant. He just told us. He just read it. He renewed the covenant with Jacob. Okay? These sons of Jacob, Levi and Simeon, there's always going to be a black sheep in every family, right? Maybe. These sons of Jacob, Levi, they neglected the justice in favor of revenge last week. And they wind up murdering an entire community of men. So Jacob is now responsible for all the people of Shechem, and he gives them these instructions. Gives them instructions. So they gave to Jacob all of the foreign gods which were in their hands, and the earrings which were in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the terebinth tree which was by Shechem. Or we learned last week it's not called Shechem. That makes you an English speaker. It was called, anybody remember? Shechem. It's just one syllable word, Shechem. Okay.
Susan, just offhand, do you know the significance for the rings here? Because I can understand the idols, get rid of them. But the rings, were they some significance?
It must be some significance, because that's
It's brought up quite a bit.
Huh?
Brought up quite a bit.
It's brought up quite a bit, yes, and it has to do with who you belong to, I think. I think it's probably a...
It's interesting, no?
Yeah.
Who you're listening to.
Who you're listening to. Yeah, there you go.
Is it connected with the thing about the slaves, that they want to be set free, let them go, but, at the end of their tenure, but if they want to stay, then take them to the doorway where they make where the decisions are made, and
right.
They get
a ring for their ear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick with God. Yeah, it's probably which God you're giving your allegiance to and pursuing. Yep, that makes sense. Okay. After the death of all those guys at Shechem, Jacob is going to leave, and he moves south. He's heading in a southerly direction, but before leaving, he says, I just want to bring this up. And Jacob said to his household, and to all, can you say all? All who were with him, and here's that, it's such a little word. If, but, with, if, but, and, they're like little words, but they wind up being important microscopic nuggets. With. And here it is, and they, and Amar, Ve'amar, Yaakov, El, Bait, to all, right? Yeah?
His house.
To all his household, to his household. This book makes it his household. Help me.
And
Ve'el,
Kol, Asher, everybody
and everybody.
who were with him, Imo.
Here's the word. Here's the word. There's two words. I'll remind you, there are two words in Hebrew for with. One is this one, Ayin Mem, and the other one is Aleph Tav. Aleph Tav, with him, he was with him, just means, well, they were riding together on the bus and they didn't really know each other, but they were just with each other on the bus. This with, this im, means you're with him, you're tracking with him, you're you're going in accordance with him, you're in agreement with him, you're with him, you're with him, you're with him, you're with him. Yeshua's with you. Are you with him? Or are you just traveling along on the same bus that he's on? He's with you, he's for you. It's a very important word in Hebrew, im. Right, Myra? Very important. Okay. Put away, and he's telling them, you guys, put all those foreign gods away that are among you. Purify yourselves and change your garments. That's what we do when we come to the Lord, right? It's kind of like, well, boy, it's time to clean up this act, right? And we dress a different way. We do things in a different. You're clothed in it. You wind up being clothed in His righteousness. Is what happens. Those are different garments than being clothed in the garments of the world's way of doing things, right? Purify yourselves, change your ways, change your mind, change your clothes, that kind of thing.
Susan?
Yes.
Do you know what purify yourselves about, like go take a dunk in the river, or was it more like fasting?
I'm not sure at this point in time what the word purify meant, and I did not look that up, Vicki, so I don't know. Later on, it's going to be it'll be the whole thing with the washing and stuff, but yeah.
I wondered,
Yeah.
according to Hebrew thought.
Yeah. I didn't check on that one. I don't know, or I can't remember. So at any rate, this word here, it's really tracking with, being in agreement with, and everybody does that. I mean, just think, this is an entire village of women who are now widows and children, and Jacob has now taken on the responsibility for all of these guys. And we talked last week. I wonder where those boys got where all the sons got their wives from. Everybody all but one agreed to the terms. This whole concept is literally what they're saying is, you shall have no other God before me, is what God is saying. And Jacob is bringing them into that agreement. And everybody seemed to agree with it. He got rid of except for one. What do you suppose that one was? Who was the one? Rachel. What had Rachel done? Stole what? Her father's gods. She wasn't ready to come out of the house. She just thought if she had these gods that was going to set things up well for her, evidently. Or somebody said a couple weeks ago, maybe those gods were made out of gold. I don't know. Could be. Well, we'll see what happens. And they journeyed, and they went and they journeyed on, and the terror of God was upon the cities that were all around them. And they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. That's what Jacob was so upset with his sons about. For crying out loud, you guys, look what you've done. Now all the people in all these towns all around them, we're going to be a stench in their nose. They're going to come out and attack us. guess what? The terror of God was when, as he moved, God told him to move south, so he moved south. He got rid of the gods, now they're moving. And the terror of all the cities all around them, they did not come out and pursue the sons. That's what I would just, wouldn't you just love to, this is the word, here it is. Hita. Wouldn't you just love to see the terror of God on a lot of places today? I would too. All right, so he listened to his voice, put things away, purify yourselves, and change your garments. So he's done all that. The connection that is going to be being passed now, he read in verse 8, that Rebekah's nurse dies. Where did that come from? Some English teacher somewhere is going, that's not a parallel sentence, right? Where'd you get that? Where were you talking about Rebekah's nurse anyway? Chapters and chapters and years ago, right?
Yeah.
But if we were to think in terms of generations, because we're going to be dealing with 3 generations here. This is from the former generation, right? And this goes all the way back to, this could go all the way back to Abraham, was when Rebekah would have been born at least. And Isaac is going to die and Rachel's going to die, all here within these little group of verses. So we're dealing with 3 generations that's going on here. So even though representatives from these 3 generations pass away in this chapter, God's covenant plan continues because his word's never going to pass away. And he gave that, he repeated that to Jacob. So we got 3 generations going to pass away in this chapter, but the covenant plan is going to continue in this chapter as well. Did he not just bless Jacob? And said, right? Let me see if that's right. Verse 11, and God said to him, I am God Almighty, be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall proceed from you, and kings shall come from your body, and the land which I gave Abraham and Isaac I give to you, and to your descendants after you I give this land. That is the covenant being passed on. And he said, where did he say, and I change your name to Israel? Where did he say that? Oh, verse 10. And God said to him, your name is Jacob, and your name shall not be called Jacob anymore, but Israel shall be your name. And he changed his name to Israel. That's just awesome. God's word's never going to pass away. Okay. Or I just said it on that slide. Okay, his name is going to be called Israel. So here's my big aha moment for the week. And this is really big, so pay attention. Okay? So I titled this, What's in a Name? El, which means God. And this is what I learned this week. I didn't make this up. This is from Hebrew scholars. Okay? When the El, which means what? What does El mean? Okay, when the EL comes at the end of a Hebrew word, it gets flipped to the front for the translation. What does that mean? Well, let's just take a look. Ishmael. See the L? We're going to flip it to the front for the translation. God has heard. Okay? How about Malkiel? Malkiel. This word means king. You put an I here at the end of it. It means it's a possessive, right? Here's the L. Okay? So here we go. God is my king. That's what the name, how it's translated. Okay? You ready? Israel. Striving. El. God is striving. Let's just have a couple of, okay? He's striving, why? To accomplish his plan, his will. Now, you tell me, let's have a little discussion, and you guys raise your hand and tell me how we have always interpreted what the name Israel means. We kind of come up with some different definitions, but help me. Israel, what does it mean, Jeff?
No.
No.
striving.
No. What have you learned before in the past? Nobody's ever learned this before. What have we learned in the past that what Israel means? Vicki?
Wrestling with God,
Wrestling with God?
or striving with God.
Yeah. Man is striving with God. What did you tell you? Well, you put it this morning, Myra. It was really good. You remember? I don't remember. We always.
God
Go
is
ahead.
always striving with us.
God is.
The ones that are going, no.
No. But we think that the whole picture of Jacob wrestling with the angel at the river, right, was doing what? What was Jacob doing with him?
Jacob was striving with God, and he was saying, okay, now I'm winning, so I'm not going to let you go until you bless me.
I'm going to let you go until you bless me, because I'm, yeah.
But
right?
it's the other way around. God was striving with him, and is that what you're talking about? And when he got to the point where he was saying, I am not giving up until you, that's when God can do a miracle.
That's when God can do a miracle. Who needs a miracle? Who needs a miracle?
I'll take
Oh,
one.
I'll take one, yeah.
You'll take one. You'll take one. When you tell God, I'm not going to give up and I'm not going away and I'm going to stand right here in the middle of your desk until you bless me.
And then he says, get the hell out of here.
No, he doesn't. No, he's going to say, really, you believe me now? You believe me that I can do this? I think it's more along those lines. He is more than willing to have you come. But we have had it backward. We have, Tina, we've had it backwards. We think we're striving with him all the time. And it's God striving with us, because guess what? It doesn't matter what we do, his covenant plan is going to be worked out. You can fuss and holler and kick and scream and squalor and squalor? Not squalor. Squall. Ball and squall, thank you, and holler. Ball and squall and holler. And you're not going to stop his plan from working its way through all of mankind. That's not the way the kingdom works. The kingdom works when we come into agreement with his plan. Right?
Yeah.
And his way of doing things.
Not him with us.
Not him with us. And then he says, Tina, then you really haven't asked me for anything. Why don't you go ahead and ask me for anything you ask me, I will do it for you. That's what he said.
Yeah.
When are we going to believe it?
So is there a spiritual principle there? I mean, the guys were all in the boat. There's a big storm. They're all fighting the storm all night.
Yep.
Jesus is on the shore, watching the whole thing. And he's going, okay, when are they going to call on me? When are they going to call on me? They're not ready yet, I guess.
What did they do? They just
kept striving and striving. And finally, he walks on the water to go over there to him.
and then
And
what happened?
that's when they say, don't you know we're going to die? Don't you know we're going to die? That's when the miracle.
That's when the miracle happened, and all of a sudden everything got calm. Don Emsley and Myra Emsley were out on their porch last night going, no, and all of a sudden the storm broke up. Right?
That was two different stories.
Yes, two stories.
One was sleeping in the bottom.
No, there's two different storms. No, one was,
That's what I said.
oh,
Two
yeah,
different stories.
yeah. Oh, there are two different, yes,
Stories were just crossed.
yes, we did. There's two stories, right? When he was in the boat and when he was on the shore.
Right.
Right, yeah. Two storm stories. Sometimes he can be right there with you and you're still going to fight and squall and bawl. Right? And sometimes you have to ask him to come, right? Either way, it doesn't matter. He'll come, right? Right, okay. All right, that's one thing I learned.
Well, there
Okay.
gets to be a time where you actually believe him.
Yes.
I mean, that's me. I'm talking about me. There comes a time when I actually believe what he said. When I actually believe when I actually believe what he said, then my daughter gets healed.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
When I actually believe him.
Right.
Leading up to that, I was just praying. But there came a time when I said, no, this is not your will, and we are not going to do this. That's when I actually believed him.
Yes.
And
That's when it
he
happened.
was healed.
Yeah, there you go. We can read his word and go, it says this and it says this, and all we're doing is reading. It says this, and boy, and eventually you kind of go, well, boy, that's really good. I'd really like to believe that. That's a lot of times, that's just how deep we get.
We're hoping rather than believing.
We're hoping rather than believing. There you go. And pretty soon you come to the place where, like Myra did with her daughter when Sarah was little, and she declared it, right?
Yeah, I yelled it. I did.
I believe it.
Good for you.
Okay. Jacob to Israel. Hello, my name is Israel. Do you have any idea how powerful that is? God is striving with you so that you will come in line with his will. Will you please tell me how life gets better than that? And he actually wants to walk with you and work things out with you? How does life get better? Please tell me. It doesn't, does it? That's it. I'm sorry, but that's as good as it gets. You walking with God and talking to him, and he's telling you stuff, and he's going, let's work this out. Let's work it through, right?
He could just say, never mind.
He could say never mind and walk on. He could say never mind and walk on. All right. So at any rate, what's in a name? Okay, what am I saying here? God is the one doing the striving. It is his will that is getting accomplished, and he is using Jacob to do this. And he wants to use you too. Okay? He will use the nation of Israel to do this, to accomplish his will. Okay. Ta-da. So the big picture, what have I got? Oh, I'm repeating myself. The big picture is what? Jacob's name being changed to Israel. Rather than he will follow, but God is striving with him to accomplish his will. Wow. Jeff, I don't know, but I think this is very powerful stuff. You'll help me learn about this later, right? We'll work together on it. We'll just figure it out. Okay. God will strive with the people of this nation to accomplish his will, and it's still going on today. It's not, I mean, all the stuff that's going on, it's like he's this big, I don't know, it's like a big, I don't want to equate God to a bulldozer, but let's just say he's a bulldozer. It's like a big bulldozer pushing through the stuff, and it's going to go where it's going to go, and we're not going to stop it. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's going to accomplish what it's going to accomplish. He's working out his plan or his covenant, and it will not be thwarted. Even the sinfulness and bad behavior on the part of his people will not make this covenant null and void. You can't cancel it. You can be on the other. You can get yourself on the other side of it, but you aren't going to cancel it. And God himself steps in and renews the covenant with Jacob. We just read that. Okay, so Elohim, with El at the beginning, it literally is, this word is Elohim. Now it's at the beginning. I know it's at the end, but in the Hebrew it's at the beginning, right? Elohim, there it is at the end, at the beginning. It's Elohim, that word itself is plural. This I am on the end of it means it's plural. It's kind of like an S in English. It's plural for gods, but when referring to the Hebrew God, it takes a singular verb to go with it. So when speaking of the God of Israel, Elohim is usually understood to be grammatically singular, i.e. it governs a singular verb or an adjective. That makes sense? Okay. Okay, so this is an important verse that God is saying here. He's God Almighty. He's saying to Jacob to be fruitful and to increase in number, and a nation, watch this, and a community of nations, not just one, but a community of nations will come forth from you, and kings will be among your descendants. The land that I gave to Abraham and Isaac, I'm also giving to you, he says. And I will give this land to your descendants after you. And then God went up from him at the place where he had talked with him. Okay? This place. At this place. Have we gotten there? Have I? 14? Oh, that's right. Did you mention the word Luz? Did 14? Where? I forgot what verse that was in. 6. Oh, it's earlier. Okay. All right. So I have a question for you. So we're talking about Luz and Jerusalem and Bethel. In verse 6, is that where it is?
Yes.
Okay. So Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, and he and all the people who were with him. And a lot of time, other places it will say Bethel, Luz, and also is referring to Jerusalem. And my question is Luz actually the place of Jerusalem? And he set this stone up, and he did the grain. He was there, like whatever it was, 30 years prior when he was leaving, and the Jacob's ladder incident happened. And I'm going to take you through a series of slides now. This is what it looks like underneath the city of David. This is a drawing. Okay, this is way down, many, many layers under. And Myra and I stood right here in this area. This is where Eli Shukran took us underneath. And this goes way, way, way back in time. Way back in time. This is where that little place, you know, I told you he had the little metal door, the rock, like this rock right here. I found an article yesterday that about made me just jump up and down and go howdy. Luz, Bethel, Jerusalem, the city of David. Was located on Mount Moriah. This is from this archaeology guy here. I'm sure that Eli Shukran was standing no more 3 feet from this guy when this picture was taken. But
You can see the metal box he's inside.
yeah, see the metal box here? There's a door that closes, and this is all locked up. And here's that rock. There's that rock, huh?
Do you think that's the actual rock?
They think, yeah, hang on just a second. They think that's the actual rock. Now, he was there, and I just told you that Myra and I were there. And that's my picture that I took of the same rock. You see the difference? See? Here's the shape of it. Here's the little dimple in the thing that it's sitting on. Same rock. Jacob, he returned there. He returned there. He returned to Luz, Bethel, Jerusalem, where he had made covenant and took the name of Israel back in Genesis 35. God is always waiting for us to return. It's a wonderful thing. He's always waiting for us to return to his blessing. He wants to bless you. Yes.
You know, in Spanish, it's luz,
Luz?
not luz.
Luz, it's probably, huh? Light. Luz. Okay, here's another thing. This is right out of Hebrew stuff from the rabbis. They say that there is a little bone in your back that it's referred to as luz. A little portion of your backbone, and it cannot be destroyed. It cannot be burned up. Cannot. There's a little portion of you that cannot be burned up. It's kind of like Jerusalem. Jerusalem was destroyed twice by fire.
So you're saying if somebody were to have their body cremated versus buried, that part of your back will not be burned to ashes?
I didn't say that. That's what the rabbis are saying.
At least in a normal condition, cremation might be way hotter. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's always something there. Anyway, there's always a memory of you there somehow. Israel, Bethel, Luz. Here's where it is. God is striving with his house here. Okay, I'm going to use I think I put it on your notes there. So this is what Eli Shukran said. Abraham and Melchizedek were there. Were here. Were that place, that drawing that I showed you. He was there. Think about that. Abraham and Melchizedek were there, or here. They meet here. Let's just keep it in the present, all of them. Abraham binds Isaac here at that spot. Jacob comes here on the way to Padam Aram before he left. Jacob comes back here and is blessed here and is called Israel here. Abraham and Isaac and Jacob all drank from the Gihon spring here. And we should think about that. Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob all drank from the Gihon spring. And the Gihon spring is the only water source in Jerusalem.
In the city of David.
In the city of David, thank you. In the city of David. Jacob leaves here and Israel ends up in, Jacob's going to leave here in a few minutes. And he won't come back. Jacob will never see this place again himself. He's going to wind up in Egypt. His family's going to wind up in Egypt for about 430 years. Okay? Well, Israel is gone. The Canaanites come in there. King David is the one who takes it back from the Canaanites, from the Jebusites.
Would the Canaanites also refer to the Philistines?
No, I don't think so. Philistines are the people that came from Phoenicia. They were just, they're enemies of God, but they're not the Canaanites. Yeah. David takes it back from the end, and then he moves here. David does. Solomon builds a temple here. Yeshua comes here to this place to cleanse it with his own blood. And Israel misses their visitation here. Here, this place, Bethel, Luz, Salem, Jebus, Jerusalem, city of David, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob are all here at that little rock. Pretty significant, okay?
And they didn't go there by chance. They all knew. David knew.
David knew.
David knew that was the place. That's why he wanted that city.
I wouldn't know. That's either true or God is striving with David and his plan is going to be worked out because that's where God wants his city to be, right? One way or the other.
He's putting his name right there.
One way or the other, and I would rather imagine that David is cooperating with God and walking with him, and God's will is being worked out, is being played out. Doesn't that make sense? God's will, if we get this, if we just make a mental note or write this down if you have to remind yourself, God's will is always going to be worked out. Right? Write it down. I mean, and then look at it and go, well, God, I believe that. And I want to be part of it. He goes, good. He wants you to be part of it too, right? All right, now, I want you to look at this picture and I want you to study it very carefully because here we go. This is the ancient Jerusalem, the city of David. Okay? People are all excited about going to Jerusalem, and excited about going to Jerusalem, and excited about going to Jerusalem, and when they think excited about going to Jerusalem, they think this. This wasn't even available to even go and look at until about, what, 20 years ago? You want to know how close we are to him coming back here? He's even brought this, in our generation, he's brought this, made this available to people now. This was not Jerusalem. David didn't know this. That was a hill high up on the, on the next ridge up. He didn't think of that as Jerusalem. Okay, somebody tell me something. Am I crazy?
No.
Am I going against tradition? Yes. I am going very much against tradition. Am I going for truth? Yes.
Yeah.
So where's the Wailing Wall at, and where's the Dome of the Rock at, in the area that points to not here?
Yep, points to, there's the Dome of the Rock right up here at the top of the picture. And the Wailing Wall is right here underneath this arrow.
You can see a little bit of a gold spot there.
See the gold spot? That's the Dome of the Rock.
So That area that you're pointing to where it says not here,
Oh, not here.
that would not be where the temple was? It would be
No.
in the area where it says here?
Yep. The Gihon Spring was here. The Gihon Spring was here. The Gihon Spring, only water source in the city of David. The Gihon Spring is one of eight siphon type springs in the world. And the Gihon Spring would be would all by its little old lonesome, all by its little self, would just automatically turn on several times a day. And the kind of, with the Levitical system, sacrifice system, they needed that water there all the time. They didn't need to be traveling up, 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 up. Believe me, it's up, 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 to carry water up the hill to the temple.
To not here.
To not here. Yeah, it was not here. It was down here in this area.
Show them where the City of David National Park is.
City of David National Park is right here in this area, right here, right?
To the right, and to the right, up above ENT, right in there.
And we covered this.
Yeah, right here, ENT, right in here, this area. Right now, and this is an area called Silwan. That was all part of the City of David way back when, right? There's a huge valley that goes around here. Here, let me show you this picture. This might help. There you go. There you go.
Where's the place where Jesus watched over and said, we have wept for them?
Well, he was sitting up here on the Mount of Olives. This is the Mount of Olives over here on the right-hand side. Which today it's covered up with Silwan. But the Mount of Olives is this whole ridge over here. Okay? Here's the Gihon. Oh, yeah. Hezekiah's tunnel. Ask Joel. He walked through it. He walked through it. You're going to walk through it. Do you want to? Joel, take you. Jeff, you're going to go through it? You'll go through it. Yes.
It still surges. It still surges, but it doesn't squirt.
It doesn't squirt up. Yeah, it doesn't.
City is.
Right. Right. Yes.
About a year ago, I heard this same, lack of a better term, argument about where everybody thinks it is, where the Dome of the Rock is, the Wailing Wall, and then what you presented. And it just refreshed my memory, and this author that had a YouTube video was making the argument that where the Wailing Wall is and the Dome of the Rock is, that was where the Roman fortress area was,
right,
with thousands of Roman troops, because like when Paul was being arrested on the Temple Mount, and they had to come and rescue
to run down.
him, you'll read that they ran downhill
Right.
and rescued him. So if that was the Roman area where the soldiers were saved, then running down the hill a short distance to get to the Temple Mount, that makes sense.
It makes all the sense in the world when you just put the logistics to it. And the Romans were up on the thing, and they could look down into the temple and see what was going on down there. It's logical. It's logical. Now, do you suppose if the and you know, God bless them. I'm saying, I'm not being anti-Semitic here, but if the Jewish people have, and the rabbis and everything have missed their visitation as the Yeshua's Messiah, that they could miss this too, if their eyes are blinded? It's tradition. Right. Right.
It's logical.
Yeah. So when we were praying for eyes today, you know, it's about these spiritual eyes being opened and people can begin to see the truth, because it's time to. It's just time to. It's happening. Yeah.
Would you send that picture out?
This one? Oh, sure. Yeah.
I'd like to remind everyone this will be on the tape on YouTube.
Yeah.
Again, our channel is simply Fellowship of Messiah. That's it. And you'll see our emblem, little circle emblem.
Yeah, you know the little glass that's on your newsletter every week?
Someone else who just created a channel, exact same name, back in April of this year. So hopefully I'll be able to contact him and ask him to kindly change his name. We've had ours for over a year. He just didn't do a search first.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
We should be able to find our easily and find any.
Okay. All right. Having said that, that was kind of the bulk of the teaching. Now we'll just go ahead and meander through the rest of this chapter, 16 to 20, if you would, Steve. I'm going to go from Bethel to Migdal Eder. Well, let me say this before we go on. I have no idea how long Jacob stayed there and dwelt there. It could have been for quite a long time. I don't know. But let's go ahead and see how he gets down to Migdal Eder.
Then they journeyed from Bethel, and when there was but a little distance to go to Ephrath, Rachel labored in childbirth, and she had hard labor. Now it came to pass, when she was in hard labor, that the midwife said to her, "Do not fear, you will have this son also." And so it was, as her soul was departing, for she died, that she called his name Ben-Oni. But his father called him Benjamin. So Rachel died and was buried on the way to Ephrath, that is, Bethlehem. And Jacob set a pillar on her grave, which is the pillar of Rachel's grave to this day. Then...
Oh, no, that's it. Okay, so Rachel dies on the way to Ephrath. They leave, and they travel from Bethel, or where we were just at a couple slides ago, and there was still some distance to come to Ephrath, which is real close to Bethlehem, and Rachel travailed as she had hard labor. Whatever. It's so they're coming down here, okay, and she died. And that must have been very sad for Jacob, because this is the one that he loved. Yep. She began to give birth, and she had great difficulty, and she breathed her last, and she died. And she named him Son of My Sorrow, and Jacob changed the name to Son of My Right Hand. And he's going to be very protective over this little guy in the days, in the chapters ahead. You'll see. Okay. Matriarchs are all gone except for Leah. There's Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel, and they are now all gone. Okay, 21 to 29, and then we'll finish this up.
Then Israel journeyed and pitched his tent beyond the tower of Eder. And it happened, when Israel dwelt in that land, that Reuben went and lay with Bilhah, his father's concubine, and Israel heard about it. Now the sons of Jacob were 12. The sons of Leah were Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, and Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel were Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Bilhah, Rachel's maidservant, were Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's maidservant, were Gad and Asher. These were the sons of Jacob, who were born to him in Paddan Aram. Then Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre, or Kirjath Arba, that is Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had dwelt. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. So Isaac breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people, being old and full of days. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him.
Okay. Migdal Eder. Let's see. Migdal Eder. So, right here, what does Migdal Eder mean? Tower. Watchtower, right. That's the area in Bethlehem where the shepherds would go up on this tower, and they could see out over the land and how their sheep were doing and where they were at and so forth. That's the very place where there were shepherds biding in their fields by night, right? Keeping watch by night. There you go. And lo and behold, yeah, same area. And then, so he's heading on down here to Hebron, which is where his daddy lived. So his 12 sons, and he's just not a happy guy. At this point in time, he's not a happy guy, and I lied to you. I said 188. He's 180. Make this a 0. That's a typo. Jacob came to his father Isaac at Mamre in Hebron, and that's where Abraham and Isaac had dwelt. And now, do you remember many years ago? And Isaac was just said, "Oh, Esau, go get me some of your game because I'm about to die." They thought he was on his deathbed then. How many years was that? 60-some years before? He wasn't ready to die after all. I guess he was just hungry. He breathed his last and died and gathered to his people. Where would he have been gathered? Where did they take him? No? The cave, right there in Machpelah, right? So he sent an email over to Esau. Guess what, Esau? I got bad news. Dad died last night, and right? And so Esau came, and the two brothers were able to come together and bury their father together. And his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. So, and they bury him at Machpelah, right there. Okay, so Abraham is there, Isaac is now there, Sarah is there, Becca is there. Rachel's not there. She's on the way, she's at a roadside rest area, yeah. Hey, that's where that comes from. And so Jacob and Leah. And did you notice that Reuben, why would Reuben do that? As soon as his mother dies, he goes up and tries to has relations with with Bilhah, his mother's handmaiden. He was trying to position himself to make sure he was going to be the next patriarch in line. He was wrong.
Are you saying Leah or Rachel died? Rachel wasn't his mother.
No, Rachel wasn't his.
You said his mother.
Did I say Leah? I'm sorry, I meant Rachel. He went up and had relations with Rachel. I mean, with
Rachel's handmaid. No, you said it was his mother's maid. It wasn't, because Leah was his mother. Rachel wasn't his mother.
Leah was his mother. Okay. At any rate, he's trying. So he went up and had relations with the woman who's
Concubine.
the concubine, because his father, the one that his father really loved, had just died. And maybe that was his way of getting back to her for the mandrakes or something. I don't know. But at any rate, he was trying to position himself for the birthright blessing further on down the road, but he made a big mistake. So he's not going to get it. And so that's the end of this part, and we'll stop right there. We're not going to do 36 goes into all of Esau's kids. Just know that there's a bunch of them. They become a mighty nation, and we can't pronounce their names anyway, and we won't come up against them again. If we do, we'll deal with it then, but we'll leave it go for there.
This has been a presentation of Fellowship of Messiah with teacher Susan Miller. Video editing by Joel Thompson. If you've enjoyed this video, please click the thumbs up icon below the screen on the left, and subscribe by clicking the bell icon below this video and to the right to be notified of each new video we post. Know someone else who'd love this video? Click the arrow pointing to the right in the upper right hand corner of this video and share. Until next time, Shavua Tov. Have a good week. And may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his everlasting peace and harmony in every area of your life. In Hebrew, that is, Yivarekeka Yahuwah v'yishmerecha, Ya'er Yahuwah panav alecha, v'kuneka, Yisa Yahuwah panav alecha, v'yasem lecha shalom.